Yeah.
Yeah, he was
All right,
driving,
so I had just said that we received a request from Mount Abe to install a banner over West Street for Memorial Weekend, no later than June 24th. So the question is, would the select board entertain adding it to tonight's agenda or have it as an item on the May 22nd agenda?
We can add it.
I have no problem adding it.
Okay.
They'll be early this year.
Where do we want to add that?
You're the boss.
Other business?
Other business makes sense to me.
Look at that.
Overview of Zoom meeting operation and procedures, rules for participation. Please mute your microphone and please be recognized by the chair if you'd like to speak for our friends on Zoom. First of all, department head, public forum. Is there anyone here for public forum this evening? Jim, you got anything? No. Anything online? I don't see anything. All right, now we have department head roundtable. Bruce, why don't you go first?
Staying busy now that the warmer weather is here. And some of that includes more dog complaints. But
No.
other than that, nothing new.
Thank you. Eric?
Yeah, just a reminder that we're gonna be closing Harts Gravel Road by the cemetery tomorrow to install a culvert. And we did green up pickup today, so we ended up getting 45 tires and almost a ton of garbage today.
Wow. Is that more than usual for Green Up Day?
Yeah, usually it's just a hair over 1,000 pounds most of the time.
And you didn't pick up the stuff on 116, right? That
No,
state
that's
pickup.
all
So that
state.
doesn't even include what.
Right.
So either we had more volunteers or more trash, or more volunteers and more
I
trash.
can tell you there were a lot more people out. There were a lot more bags that I saw when I was doing cleanup. I was just like,
Yeah,
wow, I'm running into people on 116, wow.
that's
That's
about it.
good. Thank you.
I have a couple
Sharon?
questions.
Oh,
Sorry.
go ahead.
A
Sorry.
couple questions for Eric. I noticed a pile of trash that's over by Basin Street by that, the culvert right there. I think it was from Green Up Day. I can't imagine if someone just left it there because it looked pretty old. So I don't know if you are still needing to get that, but you could just go check that out and see. It's some tires and some other stuff.
Check that.
Thank
Is it
you.
down in Basin Street?
No, it's.
No,
right up
it's,
on-
yeah,
Right up
it's
the
by,
handrails?
yeah, kind of where you were doing the digging before when you replaced the piping there. It's right around there.
I
Alright,
also
we'll check it
saw
out.
3 tires stacked up down on East Street. And I wasn't sure if those were.
That's why I didn't pick them up.
Right. Right.
So-
Someone's trying to sell them. And then the other thing I
There
was
was no
wondering,
sign on them.
that's true. I was wondering if, Eric, do you have another one of your crossing bollards that you can put on North and Pleasant Street?
North and Pleasant Street.
It's our main crossing just for the school right there. We do have the signs. One of them is
Correct.
actually cracked and broken, but if we could get a bollard there, I just didn't know if you had one or we needed to buy a new one and we were waiting for the next budget cycle.
Yeah, the new one that I bought, we put that down by the creamy stand.
Yeah, looks great.
So I don't have another one for there.
Okay. Are you able to, when we kick into the new fiscal year, are you able to purchase one then? I think you have budget for that, right?
Yep.
Okay, it would just be, I think, an additional one. We could put one on Pine and North, but it's pretty close to the one that's by North and the other.
North and Fitch.
Thank you, Fitch. Yes, and there's one there, so we may not need one on Pine, but it's just nice because North is a much faster road to be and wider to be able to have them. It really helps, I think, crossing. But that was it. Thanks, Eric.
Yep.
Thanks, Ian. Right, Sharon, you're up.
Good evening. Let's see. As everybody knows, we have Luca now. He's moving along. They took the feeding tube out of his belly button today, so that's progress.
Nice.
And then, let's see, what else do I have going on? Water, the bills went out. We still have a few issues. Sewer reads coming up again. I think this one will actually be a 3-month one, so it will be time to do bills for them. And I will start doing the purge for the voter checklist, which has to be done in the odd years. So having to do that and do a BCA meeting to make sure they agree with who we want to send out challenge letters to. Dogs, we have about 225 registered now, which I know isn't everybody in town, but Bruce, remind me to tell you about an incident that I got a complaint about today that I forgot to tell you this afternoon. It's another dog bite. It's another dog bite. So,
Okay.
and just anything else that's coming in the door for treasurer, and people are coming in to pay their delinquent taxes, which is good. So just moving right along.
Great. Thanks, Sharon.
Oh,
Jill.
and one other thing, there'll be a lot of people coming Plank Road, because I just saw Brett's email today about 17 being closed. So we're going to have a lot more traffic going that way, which is the way I've been going, and it's already getting more traffic. So it's going to be a lot more people coming down North Street. So those signs that Ian's talking about might be a good thing.
Good idea. Thanks, Sharon. Jill?
Hey, Cyrus is here too. He's just not in the picture.
Hey, Cyrus.
Yeah. We are 1 week away from the pre-bid meeting for the Pine Street water line. So I think it's next Thursday. Next Thursday, the 18th is the pre-bid meeting. And I think we're going to actually walk the project area as part of the meeting, unless I'm mistaken. I know it will be Zoom technically, but I think that was part of it as well. I haven't gotten the update from Steve as to exactly how he's going to go about it, but I know that we had a walkthrough with Valerie and Steve and Eric to try to find some cost savings for the project as an overall, based on where things could be located around the project and how traffic control might be able to be staged. That's a pretty big one. I'm going to be putting flags on the curbs along Pine Street. So I wanted to say, is there a way that there could be something put out to the public to just ask them, even though they don't like the little blue flag and they don't like the little blue spotted paint, if they could just leave them there, it will make things a little bit easier, because it shows the contractor where the curb is and the service line that they're trying to connect to is. It also gives the pre-bidders that are looking at this an idea of how semi-straightforward the project is, being that all the service lines for the other utilities are overhead, and it's a relatively straight water line. So we're kind of like crossing our fingers that as the bidders look at this job, hopefully we get a lot at the pre-bid and they see that this is a not the hardest project they've ever done. It's a bit more simple.
Good. Is that a notice that can be put out on Front Porch Forum? If we have some verbiage?
Yeah, I was just thinking, if something could be put maybe on Front Porch Forum, on the town's website, and on Facebook, it would be awesome to just let people know that first we're going to have the flagging and the paint marks for Pine Street. And then later in the year, kind of, which I'll let you guys know when we're doing it, but it'll be a little bit later in the year towards the fall. We're going to mark out the valves and the water lines on the rest of the west side services so that the engineering crew can come in and survey in all the water lines and the valves for the rest of the west side design that they're going to work on this winter. Then in the spring, we'll mark out the services. Not the main lines in the road, but the services and the lawns and where the sewer lines come out, so that the other side of the services can be designed, meaning the customer side, should you proceed with that in the scope of services for the west side. Because there's grant eligibility on both sides because of potential lead service lines.
So for the notice, you just need something about the blue flags and blue paint?
Don't touch
Yeah.
them.
Actually, the second part is we are working on the service line inventory. So they also, the other thing we want to let them know, so I'll write up an email that's got the verbiage because this just got longer, is that we will be contacting people via phone call and knocking on their doors as well to actually see their water services.
Yeah, you do the verbiage, we'll get it on Front Porch Forum.
Okay, cool. Thanks. I'll write something short, sweet, and maybe put a visual in so they just kind of understand that, hey, it's us. We're not bad guys. We just want to see what your service line is and put a little blue paint and a flag down.
You can't put a picture on Front Porch Forum, so.
Okay,
No,
we'll
do
use
that.
really good descriptive words.
No, but we could do that on Facebook and Instagram,
Yeah.
so.
Also, we might be prepared with door hangers for additional notice for people when they're not home.
That's a good idea.
Yes. I think I would be happy to do that too.
Great.
Hey, Jill,
Yes.
are you the one in charge of unwrapping the water fountain at the hub?
I do think that usually there is a phone call that occurs to us/Cyrus that, hey, we're ready. And we turn the service back on and kind of flush through the water.
With the warmer weather, we were over there and it was still wrapped. And so I just wasn't sure if it was Meredith who handled that or if it was you. So I thought I'd ask tonight.
We don't instigate, we just deliver.
Okay. We'll have the town instigate.
Okay, awesome.
Thanks.
Or consider it instigated.
Okay.
Right.
I'll reach out to Meredith and ask if she's ready.
Thank you.
Thanks. Is that it, Jill?
I guess just a warning, I think we're discussing the budget next meeting. So between now and then, I'll get things over to Valerie and Anthony to take a peek before the next meeting.
And given that heads up, as I mentioned in my notes, at the next meeting, there will be a large agenda item talking about the water design project coming up and that scope of work, but also in the budget and preparedness for a public hearing on June 12th for the annual water and sewer budget meetings. So we'll use the May 22nd meeting to kind of hash out a lot of the nuts and bolts and loose ends, but then have a more intact information and presentation for the 12th.
All right, thank you very much. Brett.
Just a couple of quick updates for everyone. I mentioned, I think the last couple of board meetings on Saturday, May 13th, is the statewide recruitment initiative, fire service recruitment initiative. They've calling it Operation Mayday. So what they've asked, fire stations all across the state, both career, call, and volunteer, to open up their doors between the hours of 9 a.m. and 1 p.m. on this date. And then, they want you to open up your doors, and what you do during that time is, up to each individual department. It could be as simple as opening up your doors and someone be there if anybody happens to wander in. So we're trying to capitalize on this opportunity. Obviously we don't have a crystal ball. We have no idea, how many people may walk through the door. But anyway, we're preparing for people to walk through the door. We're having some special events. It's going to take many members from the department to pull this off. Firefighter Greg Swain was tasked with kind of spearheading this initiative. So he's taking the lead and doing all the organization, which is great. But from, let's see, well, we're going to set up obviously. So from 9 to 11 in the morning, there's, we're going to obviously have some coffee available for people. There's going to be some fire hose activities, some obstacle courses for the kids, fire truck tours. And then we'll be getting ready for our demonstration of vehicle extrication demonstration. This is something that we did at our open house back in 2019. That is tentatively scheduled from between 11 and 12. And then we're going to offer some foods. We don't know exactly what that looks like right now. I know there's been several asks for donations out there. But again, we're just going to continue along with those similar activities throughout the day as people come through the door, and we're going to be really flexible. But this is an open house, so we of course welcome families and kids and anybody and everybody is welcome just to come by and see their fire station. And if we get lucky, perhaps we'll get a couple of candidates out of this. Recruitment is an ongoing effort in the volunteer fire service. It never stops, because it's just a revolving door. You lose one, you get one, you lose one, you get one. That's just how it goes. But here in Bristol, we are extremely fortunate to have a pretty solid roster of today 32 people. Other departments real close to home aren't as fortunate, so we are very lucky in that aspect. But looking forward to this day. Hope for nice weather. And obviously you all are welcome. It'd be wonderful to see a member or two of our board there, or all of you. And the only other thing I wanted just to report out on, I know some of you saw the email, but yesterday, Peaker and Eric Coda spent the better part of their Sunday at the Bristol Fire Station prepping or building the new one-way drive to the fire station, as we discussed 2 weeks ago. I reached out to Peaker this morning, and if he got back to me, I apologize. I don't know if he volunteered his time. I'm assuming he did, but I don't know. Peaker?
Yes.
I figured you did, so.
Nope, we lost your sound, Brett.
Well, we're having a blast with technology tonight.
Right.
So,
Oh, there you
There
go.
you
how about now?
Yeah.
You got me?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I don't know what happened there. All right. Anyway, I'll just kind of wrap this up. So yes, thank you to both of them for giving up their Sunday. I'm sure Eric's probably on salary, but as far as I'm concerned, he gave up his Sunday because he's not plowing snow. So thank you for putting the picture up. And hopefully in a couple of weeks, we'll see some blacktop put down. We did submit a letter last week to Pike Industries in New Haven asking for a donation. I think Eric is feeling pretty confident in my brief correspondence with a gentleman who was in town a couple days ago to get the letter and meet with Eric. He felt pretty good that this might happen. So I don't know what the value is, but I can only guess it's about $5,000 or $6,000 in blacktop, if not more. So that would be a really great donation. But in the meantime, if anybody's wondering, those two different drives there, they're both accessible. You can use them today. They're obviously, one's paved, one's not, but you can use either one of them. So that's all I have, pending any questions.
Just so you know, we've got a little bit of touch up left to do on that, which we hope.
I'm not concerned. I'm sure it will be done very well. That's out of my scope of work.
Thanks, Brett.
Yep.
All right, on to regular business. Consider bids for selection of contractor for the Varney Cemetery tree removal and for the Notch Road ditching, which is tentative. May include deliberation and executive session regarding contract negotiations.
So I would turn it over to Eric, who received information last week. He asked me to hold off on disclosing it.
The cemetery you can disclose.
Okay,
The Notch Road, I'm still waiting for 2 more bids
okay,
on the
perhaps
Notch Road.
if you could just tell us what those cemetery bids were then.
So the cemetery on Harts Gravel Road, I got 1 bid from one contractor for 10 grand to take all the trees down except for, I think there was 4 of them that was gonna be left. And then the other contractor was 18.5.
Did you check back with him to see if it included the ones
No, I was
inside?
gonna do that today. By the time that we got done with Green Up Day and then I had a couple other things to do, I had not reached out to him yet to find out.
And that's 18,500, not
Yeah.
1,800.
And is he removing, or that second one, removing the same number of trees and leaving the same
Everything
number?
is the same.
Okay.
So the second contractor, the one for 18,500, he's gonna have all the wood out by the road. So that way we could get either Lathrop's or Johnson's or whoever to come pick them up with a log truck and haul them away.
Is this for the cemetery?
Yep.
And was that 18,500 contingent upon, it was adjusted, potentially adjusted if something else came along?
He said he would do the notch road for a figure if he got the hardscrabble or the cemetery. Provided he could do them relatively, close together. So he could come up one day instead of making, come up one day, go back, and 2 months later, come up another day.
Mhm.
But I gotta reach out to him and see if he'll hold that other price if he doesn't get the cemetery, which I didn't have time today to reach out to him.
So are these the trees that you,
No,
you
those-
took those out?
No, I did not take those out. I
And them are
think Sheldon got
included,
them all.
in both prices. Taking the trees away that, Peter didn't have time to get, putting them out there, and the first contractor, said that he would just truck them to Lathrop's himself.
I believe the two that are down are just about gone. Somebody's been cutting them on weekends.
Oh, have they?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there you go.
Robbing from the cemetery.
They have permission.
Yeah.
Here, just for the public, I know, I'm pretty sure, but for the public and people who are on camera, these are trees that our tree warden has looked at and recommended come down, correct?
I have no idea.
Yes. I
Yes, he
believe
did.
we
John
receive
is-
that
I just wanted to
Yeah,
make sure the
he
public
did
see
look
Margaret
through
going
it,
in and
so
cut.
pretty much, he hates to take them down, but they all pretty much have to go, is what he
Yes,
said.
okay, I thought so. I just-
Yeah.
So we're looking at, it's either 10,000 or 18,000, is that correct?
Yes.
18,500.
18,500, okay, so that's quite a hefty difference between the two.
If you're gonna have the road closed tomorrow, you can take all the ones in the front down, lay them right across the road, and you just pick them up.
Want that?
You wanted that?
Stumps and all.
Stumps and all. That was the other thing is, the second contractor, the 18,500 one, he has a truck, machine that can reach out, grab a branch or whatever, cut it, and then bring it back in so it wouldn't even touch the ground in the cemetery. He can do everything from outside the fence, bring it all back in so it wouldn't touch the ground at all. The first contractor doesn't have that, piece of equipment. So his are gonna have to be let down into the cemetery or boomed out and try to, whatever, but.
Mhm. So, can I ask, where's this money coming from?
Yeah, you can.
This
We don't
coming-
It says it coming out of the cemetery reserve.
Yeah, but there's not enough.
There's only
There's only
$10,000.
$10,000 in there.
And then we also have a cemetery maintenance line item for 5, I think.
Yeah, but isn't that's not part of the mowing and all that? That's just the maintenance.
Is
That's
that,
not the mowing line?
I think we added an additional 10,000 out of the unreserved, or
Thought
undesignated
we did
reserve
too.
funds. And we haven't, I don't think we've spent any out of that reserve fund, so there should be enough.
Just barely if we go with the higher one.
Yeah.
That's also the one that.
yeah, I
won't do
can't,
any more
I
damage.
can't see paying $8,000 extra to take down the same trees.
Trees.
No,
I
Well,
mean,
other than the fact that they don't have to drop them.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
he's gotta be insured. If he
Yeah.
takes out a stone, he's gonna have to fix it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
well, we need to do it,
Well, I know.
and so we'll find, hate to say, find the money somewhere, but
Well,
end
no,
of the year.
Val, I think Val's right. We put another 10 this year in from the undesignated into the, so there's 20
we do-
grand in there.
Val is correct, we did put that in.
Yeah.
and if we had to wait a year to put the fence in the front, and we had the fence donated anyway,
Right.
Yeah,
That's
so
an
that was,
expense we're not going to have.
that was the other question. What are you gonna do? They can only cut the trees
Above the fence.
above the fence.
Can you then pull them with the excavator? And clean it
Most
up?
of them you can pull with the excavator.
Well, damaged stone though? with the
Well, there's a
root
couple
system?
of them down on, as you're looking at the cemetery on the right-hand side, that the stones were within 2 feet of the fence.
Mhm.
And depending on the roots, I don't know if it'll ruin, you know, damage, fall over the stone or take somebody out with it.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So we don't want
Wave
any
at you when it
caskets
comes
coming
out,
up.
you know, so,
No.
yeah.
Do we have a schedule for either of the contractors, bidders?
The second one said if I could let him know relatively soon, he could be up here within a week. And the first contractor
The lower bid contractor?
was just waiting to see when we found out and then let him know, and then he would schedule it then. I did tell them both that we wanted them done before the farmer got on the field to plant the,
If they wanna be able to get
if
around.
they wanna be able to get around. Or they'd have to wait until fall, once stuff is gone,
Yeah, I don't, we don't really wanna wait till fall.
Right.
so.
I think I'd be happy voting for the $10,000 one.
We'll make a motion.
I was gonna say, is that a motion?
Then I make a motion that we accept the lowest bid for the Barney Cemetery project. The lowest
Second.
bidder. Thank you.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? There's half of it. And then we're gonna wait till executive session to discuss what the notch road
No, he
is.
doesn't have all the information.
Doesn't have all the information.
Well, I can, in the executive session, I can relay what I've gotten so far. I just don't want the other ones out.
Well,
Yep.
if you're needing to wait for more information, maybe we should just wait
wait,
until we have all of that.
Yeah, all right.
Yep,
I just-
Correct. And then for-
Okay.
Then you don't have to hang around.
Right.
Right.
That's true.
Oh, I think yes.
Thank you, Eric, for working on those. We appreciate it.
Yes, thanks.
So when
Alright,
you show up to do the road tomorrow, I'll have all those laying, when you show up, put the culvert in, I'll have all those laying in the road for you, since the road's gonna be closed.
Not in that area, though. You'll be out of the closed area.
No, I won't. Once the trees cross the road, it'll be closed.
You're gonna get a permit for the layer.
That's right.
that's right.
I can reach, I can
Michelle
reach
won't
him,
reach him.
I can
Won't give you a
reach him,
permit.
I
Michelle
can
won't
reach
give you a
him from
permit.
out of the right of way.
Alright, moving on. Consider approval of one or more ARPA funding allocation proposals.
All righty then. So Val and I, we've been working on this. And I sort of, because I'd been involved all the way through, I said I'd look through the list of 20 recommendations that the ARPA committee gave to the select board and start figuring out how we might attack this and get some money out there. So what I'll do is I'll share my screen and we can talk a little bit about it. It's probably going to be tiny on your screen there.
Yeah, that's tiny.
Let me
Yeah.
let me see if I can make that bigger. What's the best way to do that? Let's see here.
If you guys wanna share, there's a list of the projects.
All right. What's the best way to do this?
While you're doing that, I have a question.
Sure.
I'm looking at the list of, from the advisory committee, and there are two childcares. One is the first one, and one is the number 13. Why, if childcare was an issue, a top issue, why wouldn't we consider them both equally?
Because they wanted different things, if I remember right.
Well, they did, one wants a sprinkler system,
Right.
but the end result is both the ability to add childcare spots.
Correct.
It was just a question that, when I was reading through it, it came to mind.
I don't know if I can zoom this up. Is it really small for you guys? I don't know if I can zoom this up in the program that I'm in. I'm trying to see. I apologize.
It's pretty
It's
small.
pretty small.
Okay, sorry.
I mean, I can read it, but it is small.
Okay, I mean, I'll go through it. Yeah, I can't, it's not in like a Google Doc or a Excel where I know how to zoom it up. That's the only thing, so I apologize. Yeah, maybe I can, hang on one sec.
We actually have a list, I have a list of them anyway.
Can I go make a copy of that?
Here, you two can share, because I have it up on my.
Yeah,
screen.
if you have their list, it's essentially the list, but I just broken it into different sections. Okay, I'll work on that.
Doesn't have the money on it, that's all.
Yeah, and I can go through each one, and I'll develop a system a little bit better for next time. So essentially, I stuck it in a spreadsheet similar to what Val did initially with the funding or the requests that we received, and I've broken it down by type and by the entity that might take over or might the fund either is asking for funds or who might use the funds. Put in the estimated costs, looked at other funding, is other funding available, and then added a couple more statuses, one for readiness, where the project is it a planning phase, is it ready to go, is it in the budget phase, and then what the status was. And so we've got maybe half of the 20, so 10 of them are in progress, which is kind of nice. We also have about 13 of them which are town-based versus other organization-based. So there's a lot on our plate in terms of what we should be doing as a town. And we also have, I've also reached out to the ones that aren't town-based just to sort of see where those entities are at. So I'll go through just quickly in terms of by allocation spot in terms of 1 through 20. So number 1 was the Bristol Family Center, and this was adding a sprinkler system so they can renovate the upstairs of their building and add more childcare spots. So that was the top one. I spoke with Amy Whitcomb today. They got a quote for the sprinkler system a little while ago. She's going to give a new proposal and get that ready for us. But she said it was around 70,000 was the initial quote that they had looked at, and they sort of backburnered the project just because they didn't have that money available. And of course now it could potentially be available through the ARPA funds. So she's going to give us a proposal, an updated one with that information. The second was the grant writing position, which we're actually going to speak about later on this evening in terms of that job description and having that out there. So we're in the planning phase of that. The Turning Point Center, I've spoken and gotten an updated proposal from them with what they're doing, and they're asking for $55,565. And what that will do is support a new position. Let me just see what it's based on. It's
a new position. I thought they wanted it for a building or something or other.
Well, it's a combination of things. So they have on-call costs, which is sort of Recovery Coach Online, 24/7 access, family programming, and staff training and expanded center hours. That's what they're looking for, at least in their new proposal that we received today. And I think board member Bob Donis is on the call this evening too, and he can speak more to that. But that's what I received today, and it sort of breaks down the budget items. They have
a breakdown of what that 55,000 is.
Correct.
Whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's not a very specific number. I can't imagine where they come up with that.
Yeah, so it's a 24/7 access to Recovery Coach Online in Porter, family programming, which I think is it's a $25 an hour base salary, so that's a person. Staff training, again, more another person, and then expanded center hours, and it's mostly just people related. It seems to be. So that's updated. So we have that.
Hey, Ian, before you mind, can I ask Bob a question?
Sure.
Bob, with that money, are you asking for money from every town to donate to the Turning Point Center?
Yes, that is the case. Yes,
Yeah.
And are you asking each town for the same amount, or does it vary by town?
I think it varies by town.
How did you determine that? How did they determine what they were asking for each town?
I'm not sure about that one, to tell you the truth.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I can reach back out to Danielle Wallace, who's the
Executive Director.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yes.
I can speak with her about that if we have more questions.
Yeah, I think it would be nice to know if it was done by population.
Okay.
If they asked every town if it was done by population.
And I'd like to know the total amount they're asking and how many years this will fund this position or fund
These positions, yeah.
these positions or what.
Yeah. Like I assume, Ian, you have the breakdown of what each of those items were,
Correct.
cost was, so that would be good.
Right.
Okay. So how is this calculated? How long will this last?
And how
Okay.
much from each town, or how they
Okay.
figured out how much they got from each town.
Asked
Okay.
for. Asked for, because they, you know, they may not get it from every town.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Super. I can do that. So that was number 3. Number 4 was air conditioning heat pumps for Holly Hall. That's something that hasn't even been started or looked at. We're in the midst of organizing energy assessments for the town buildings. And so that could be a part of it, but I do think it needs to be probably a separate item. We have a contractor come in and be able to see if it's even possible to do that kind of system for Holly Hall.
Just upstairs though, right? Because we already have them downstairs.
Correct. Yes, just upstairs. Number 5 is the skate park renovations, including adding a section for younger kids. So that's in the planning phase. Taylor and Meredith are working hard on that. They're waiting for quotes at the moment. Part of it would be redoing the skate park surface, so be asphalting or whatever surface they want to use there, which means taking all the ramps off. And at the same time, I think a lot of the ramps would be rebuilt with new materials to make them last a little bit longer. A lot of it's a combination of older wood that's sort of rotting and falling apart. So I have a plan in progress for that.
Ian, is that going
Yep.
to be in the same footprint, or are they talking about expanding it even bigger than where it is?
I think there
And
might
is
be a
that
little bit of
gonna be
expansion,
rec
which is sort of the section for younger kids. I'm
Mhm.
recommending that the idea is to accommodate as many people as possible.
Right.
And so I think there's a little bit of expansion, which they're working with the Bristol Rec Club on.
Okay.
A suggestion that I had for them would be to add another playground similar or in the same area where the original playground was many, many years ago, taking something like you see on the park, not the treehouse section, but the pre-built structures that you can get that have been very successful, and putting that in that sort of gravelly area where there was once a playground, because then I think you accommodate the younger kids as well as older ones who are using the skate park and using the ramps. So I'm recommending that, and I've spoken with Meredith and Taylor about that,
But
as well as renovating.
That's all something that has to go through the rec club.
Mm-hmm.
Correct, and they're working, hand in hand with the rec club to sort of discuss what needs to be done and or what can be done. Number 6 was resume the farmers market or other support for local producers. So Bristol Core is going to take this on just by chance. Even as this was sort of going through, Alicia Standridge, who's the new executive director of Core, when the board hired her last November, one of the first things that she did was want to resurrect and restart the farmers market. So it worked out actually quite well that's happening. So Core has a Better Places grant that's happening right now. The board the organization needs to raise $5,000, and then they receive an additional $15,000. $10,000 of that money, or $12,000 for this year, will be used for the farmers market to reboot that and restart that. And that's paying for a person who would support the farmers market and run the farmers market for multiple weeks. And the idea here in this proposal would be to fund a little bit this year, maybe $1,000, which is sort of the maximum contribution a single entity can give for this grant. And the grant's happening right now. It actually ends in 15 days. $1,000 this year, and then it would be $30,000 for the next 3 years. And that would give a fairly decent chance for the farmers market to reboot and come back and be successful every year. So it's a lucky thing that
$30,000 over 3 years, or $30,000 a year?
Over 3 years.
Over 3 years. So it would be 10,000 each year. And yeah, sorry, 30,000 for the 3 years. Since we're funding, we can fund things up until the end of 2026, that's when the funds need to be spent. We sort of worked out to do those 3 years to be able to get a good foot up. And the nice thing is that because of the grants going on right now, only $1,000 of the ARPA money needs to be used to be able to support for this year, and then it would be 10,000 for each of the following years. So that's good.
Okay, so Ian, I'm hoping that the farmer's market does continue, but what happens if it doesn't? If you're awarded those funds and it doesn't continue, then what happens to those funds?
I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure because we took, remind me what that was, Val, I can't remember the terminology of the ARPA money, how
Where
the
we
town
took all the
received it.
money.
We took it as,
Right, the revenue replacement fund, so it's basically
Yeah,
a full grant to the town. Okay.
Right, I think, as far as I'm aware, I think we still have to keep an update on how the money is spent, but I don't know. And that goes for whether it's the farmer's market or whether it's any other entity. I'm not sure what would happen. I don't know if the town asks for the money back or I don't know.
Or maybe we pledge it and hang on to it
And pay it
just
out
pass
for a year.
year for
Yeah.
year.
I think
Sure.
we should be earning the
Yeah.
interest on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm sure for this particular one, I'm sure Cora will be fine with that. The idea that has been proposed by the board and by Alicia is that it would be 6,500 that goes towards the hours that a person running the farmer's market would have, and so that would be folded into the executive director position. That position is only a part-time or a quarter-time position anyway, so it makes sense to sort of combine those two, so that position can organize Pocock as well as run the farmer's market, and then the additional funds would be used for entertainment, music, and supplies and things like that, and promotion of the event. But we're hoping that it is going to come back. It will be successful. It sort of takes over from what was happening on the Monday nights in the park anyway. So there's a sort of a built-in audience because that happened for the last couple of years. And so the board hopes that it's as successful as those events have been. So that was number 6. I'll just run through the top 10 because there's a lot here. Number 7 was the outdoor meeting classroom space for the Lawrence Memorial Library. I've talked to Coco about that. She's going to put together a proposal for that. So we don't have any firm information on that at the moment. The Lincoln.
Is there any land for that?
It would be behind the library building, essentially where they've erected like a tent that they've had before for outdoor classroom. It would be, it's not a huge building that they're going to put there, but obviously it would need to go through zoning.
It's an actual building.
It is a building, at least the idea that what they're envisioning is in sort of a building that has maybe open sides that you could cover over in colder weather and open up and have it be sort of a more open space for the better weather.
So they need to be aware that their septic is in between their driveway and the property line.
To the back.
Interesting.
Going going east from the edge of the driveway to the property line, that's all septic. And I don't know, when we put that septic in, we moved the shed that was there off of it.
Okay, right. They've been doing their outdoor classroom, I believe, on top of that then, just because it's just been set up with a tent. And so that doesn't sound like that might not work.
I don't know if they can, I don't believe they can put a structure over it.
Okay, can they put a structure where you move the shed to?
I believe so.
Okay, so maybe I'm sure Coco knows this in terms of the septic, but obviously I'll speak to her about that. Maybe the idea was to replace the shed or move the shed and have the structure be there, but I'll follow up on that.
What about if the outdoor classroom was on a platform, a raised platform?
I think if you're not putting anything in the ground, you're probably okay. I mean, that would be a question for.
But if the roof is over
Like
permanently,
an engineer.
the sun can't, so-called.
It doesn't go up, Joel. I'm sorry, not in Bristol.
No, it doesn't. I get what you're saying. That's
right, but you want to cover
the septic though, that building would
Yeah.
have to move.
Yeah, you want to cover as much as possible. So she's working on a grant for that, or not a grant, well, combination of things. She's working a little bit of grant, but she's also working on a proposal for that. There was one built at the Lincoln preschool, and the model is sort of being based on that.
It's beautiful, better than Lincoln.
Yeah, it's great. Number 8 was the redesign Pine Street when water line improvements are made to create safe pedestrian pathway. So that one's a big one on our plate. Obviously, I don't think we can tackle that at all in the next couple of years because of what's happening on Pine Street. My recommendation for that, and it's a little bit different, but it's still tied in terms of pedestrian safety, might be to use a little bit of ARPA funds to install a push button crosswalk at Pine, not at Pine, at North and Pleasant. It has been suggested by the, it's one of the suggestions that the Bicycle Pedestrian Committee has suggested for the town, and we've tried to look at grant funding for something like that, since it's around, I think it's around $10,000 or $12,000 for one of those systems. We could price out and look at the one that was put in over at the fire station. But I was thinking that you could, if you wanted to, that would help with some pedestrian safety, especially in a very large thoroughfare for school children, and not use a tremendous amount of funds for that, since that one I think there's so much complication and complexity attached to something like that. But that would be my suggestion. I'll keep going. Number 9, bus shelters. So I'm working on that. So we have, for those who don't know, Tri-Valley Transit has a program, and they're working with Bristol on, and they are, we have the ability to have 3 free bus shelters be able to be placed at 3 locations in Bristol. We're looking currently in Prince Lane and over on Park Street or Park Place, as well as over at Stony Hill, Firehouse Drive, where the new developments are happening. So I'm in just beginning the permitting phase with that for 2 locations, which would be Prince Lane and Park Place. Prince Lane seems fairly easy to do, and I've put that together. The materials needed, I've spoken to Chris about that, and we have approval from Parmelo. I just need to get their signature. And for the Park Place, it's getting a little bit more complicated because the last thing I talked about was where we want to put it, which essentially is where the little structure is that holds the bell and the memorabilia from the old Bristol High School. That's where we want to put it, but that piece of land is actually deeded or bequeathed or whatever it is to the school district. I've spoken with Floyd Davison at MAUSD about this, and he's going to present it to the board for their next board meeting and to see what the board would like to do. He suggested maybe the land could go back to Tom Wells, who owns the rest of the property, and it would just become his again, and it would just be deeded that the bus shelter structure would be there. Tom doesn't seem interested in that. It's much easier for him to leave it as is, and he doesn't have to do anything about it, so he doesn't really care. So that's where I'm at the moment with that. So there's a little bit of complication of who actually is going to be applying for the permit, but I'm sorting that out now, and hopefully it won't take too long.
And
but the idea would be that the bell would stay on the property. We want to be, Floyd was very clear about that they would like to see that structure stay because it is directly connected with the old high school that's there. My suggestion again would be to sort of move it in between the 2 trees that are there, and so you're essentially moving it to west a little bit on Tom's property, and Tom seems like he can accommodate that. But I don't know if then when the bell moves, does the land then underneath the bell still owned by the school district, and then the other land becomes Tom's? It's a little complicated, so I'm trying to work through that. Any suggestions you have, I'd be appreciative of.
And the 2, Prince Lane and the one on the back of the park, Tom Wells' property there, those 2 bus shelters would have to go through the design review committee?
Yes, I haven't spoken to Chris about that because I'm just starting the permitting phase. It is a structure, so I'm assuming yes, but I don't know fully. I think Chris said.
When I asked him that question, the answer was yes.
Okay, then yes. So that'll be, let me add that to the list. I forgot about that. Okay. All right, set that up too. I don't have.
If I could jump in, so there's
Sure.
a $15,000 cost estimate associated with that. What would that money be used for if these are free?
That would be used for placement of the shelters. Delivery is free.
Site preparation.
Correct. And that's just a rough guess. It could be 10, it could be 5. I just put 15 in there for now, just as a temporary amount, because I don't know what it might be. Delivery is free to us. Kevin Harper has gracious enough to allow them to be placed at the Bristol Works property temporarily. They need to be delivered, since in the TVT's budget, they budgeted for this year, which ends the end of July, or end of June, sorry. So they want to get the shelters delivered and done with, and then we would handle the rest of that. And that might involve them being delivered by truck to the Bristol Works property, and then we would need to crane it onto a truck and move it into place. So it might be working with a crane company and other people to be able to place these things. And I don't know if 15 covers that, or if that's way too little or way too much. I'm not sure.
Makes sense.
And number 10 is electric charging stations. The Bristol Energy Committee has been working on that. They, about 6 months ago, they received a bid from a company to install level 2 chargers in the town of Bristol, in the location that we had previously spoken about a number of years ago, which was on the town green, in front of the bandstand, or slightly to the east of it, essentially where that large pole is that goes across to the post office. That's where we discussed and had approved to have charging stations there when we applied for a grant, which we didn't end up getting. So that was 11,822. Having spoken or emailed with Richard and Sally, their recommendation now, and I think the state is sort of pushing this as well, is instead of having level 2 charges, is to install level 3 chargers. Level 3 is more future proof, more compatible. You attract more people using that kind of technology than you do with the level 2 chargers, and it's much faster to charge cars. So
Ian, quick question.
Yep.
The placement of those, I know when you and I talked, we had to deal with the phase 3 power.
3-phase power, yeah.
3-phase power. And I thought we were putting them down closer to the church, like the first 2 parking spots by the church, because that's where the 3-phase power came in. It was easy accessible. I thought we nixed them from in front of the.
Crossing the post office?
Yeah, we wanted to move down.
That's my recollection.
What we ended up doing is because they were going to be level 2, we were going to put them in front of the final design that we came up with, and what the grant was level 2. That was in front, further down, sort of in the middle of all that parking, because level 2 didn't need 3-phase. But if the Energy Committee is now recommending 3-phase, then we might want to revisit that and maybe put them, as you said, closer to that area, because you're bringing 3-phase across the road from the Howden Hall. And so that's where we need to get it. And obviously anywhere that you can reduce the amount of line and runs that you have to do is obviously cheaper. So we might want to reconsider. There aren't a lot of great spaces to put them because it is a little bit more infrastructure. And something I've mentioned to the Energy Committee, to Richard and Sally, is to be very mindful when they get grants and get these proposals, is to let us know what it's going to look like. Because I'm all for this, but also too, the level 3s are definitely a little bit larger than the level 2s. And so I don't want a bunch of big honking equipment sitting right on the park. I'd prefer not to see that. We're trying to get it as clean as possible. And there've been a lot of changes in this technology over the last 5 or 6 years. So we may be looking at something that looks much more aesthetically pleasing than what's previously come. So.
And then that also, one of the downfalls of that grant a few years ago was the board wasn't committed to, when you plug in, we were going to eat the electricity cost, and it was going to be so-called free for the person who plugged in, and we nixed that.
Well,
Will these
right,
level 3 be on your credit card, so it doesn't go to the taxpayers paid?
Yeah, one of the grant things was the ability to offer it. I think the last thing we did was we would make the charge. It would be a minimal charge to the person, and we would get like 2 or 3 cents off of it. We wouldn't be losing money, but it's not a money maker for the town.
Right.
But the same thing would apply, I think, for any new grant that we put in. It would be on someone's credit card. They would use it. It would essentially be the town's electricity that's being used for this, and the town would get a small amount from that charge when they use it. And you can set those levels, what percentage or what cents amount, you can set all that up in the systems that we would look at.
So if those are used 5 hours a day, 7 days a week, would the town get electrical bill?
Yes. The town would get an electrical bill, but we would also be compensated for that. We wouldn't be paying. I think the town pays the
We get
electrical
billed
bill.
for the we get billed for the
Correct.
power, but they pay Green
pay
Mountain
us.
Power, pay us or
Correct,
whatever.
yes. Yeah, I don't know the specifics now because obviously it's however GMP is running that,
Right.
but we'd be paying for the electricity because it's our power lines. Unless there's a system that's completely self-contained and we aren't involved in any of it. I mean, we could also explore that too. And there are some EV systems that can be installed that are completely standalone, that they just need the connection and we're not involved at all. And that's definitely an easier way to go. And maybe we can look into that. There are a bunch of grant opportunities for the level 3 that the Energy Committee is looking into. So they're exploring that to help keep those costs down. The negative of the level 3 is that it's quite a bit more than $11,822. It's like in the hundreds of thousands of dollars cost. So we would definitely need to explore grant opportunities to be able to support something like that here in Bristol.
Ian, Brett had a message.
Oh, sure. Sorry. Oh, sure.
It'd just like to go over 11.
Yeah, absolutely. Number 11 was the rescue squad equipment upgrades. I've been emailing with Will, the head of the rescue squad, and he has given me an updated proposal. Actually, I think it was the same one that was proposed initially, which was $130,000, and that's broken down into. If you give me 1 second here. Let's see.
You're gonna have to stop sharing.
Kirsty's
So you
going
can look where
crazy.
you want.
Right?
Why? What's happening?
Your
Well, your
cursor
cursor's just moving around on the screen all over the
Oh.
place. Like you're trying to
Sorry.
get somewhere and you can't get there.
I'm just having a stroke here, reading all these out. Hang on.
You come down in person, you could have passed them out on a piece of paper, we could have discussed it.
That's true.
Valerie came over the mountain just to see you, and you're still not here.
We're gonna block you out one day, Ian. You're gonna have to show up.
I'll come back. It's getting close. Okay.
Didn't have my guard on.
All right. So the rescue squad, their amounts, they're looking as for a total of 130,000, and 95,000 of that is for the purchase and outfitting of a new ambulance to offset the costs of an older ambulance model and take the strain off of their 2 primary ambulances. And the remaining 35,000 is updated training equipment. 35,000 to cover the cost of simulation mannequin and simulated cardiac monitor, along with supporting equipment. So that's the 130,000.
That has nothing to do with what Brett was asking about.
Yeah, originally it
No,
was
so
communications.
correct. So I spoke with Will about that, and I asked him if, obviously I didn't see that covered in his proposal, and he said because that project is still in flux and we're not sure where that is, it wasn't included in that proposal.
Brad,
know-
do you have any other information on that?
Yeah.
Negative. No, you stopped sharing your screen when I went to click unmute, and now it got big. And anyway, no, I don't know any. I don't have. I was just curious because that was just some of the conversations I was recalling, and if we found out several weeks ago, this project, this idea of erecting a tower at behind the fire station is not off the table just yet. Michelle, I know she's privy to this. She's sent me some correspondence. There's definitely some work that would need to be done, but we're still hoping. And this obviously seems to be a priority for the town. we're all well aware of what we pay annually for, leasing space on the tower here in Bristol. And obviously the rescue, I know they have an interest. They pay twice as much as we do. So I'm just curious, at some point, if this happens, it's going to cost a chunk of money, and where is those monies going to come from is the question.
Yes.
So, I mean, a worst case scenario based on the proposal we saw, I don't remember when that was, a couple months ago, it was like $130,000. That ring a bell,
Yeah.
Peter?
Yeah,
Yeah, it was about
That's what
that.
he's got in there.
yeah, because, it strikes me as odd, a lot of this stuff is not what we originally heard that
They wanted.
they wanted. It seems like things have been tweaked since we got our first request from some of these organizations.
Well, and that's why
I'm
I'm
just curious.
That's why I asked the question. I just looking for clarification. I want to put it out there in the public. What are these monies allocated for? Because I certainly was thinking some of it may go towards such a project, but that is obviously not the case.
Well, I'll say, so there's a couple things with that. So let me answer to that, Brett. It was for the rescue squad, their original proposal did not contain the communications tower. That came later, before they proposed what they proposed, 130, even though it's that 130 happens to match the 130 that was the communications tower project. That's not to say that ARPA money couldn't be used for that. I spoke with members of the ARPA committee and the chair, Porter Knight, and they felt that supporting a project like that is the perfect use for ARPA funds. Even though it wasn't specifically detailed, it still could be covered under a Bristol Rescue Squad request. And both the rescue squad and the fire department obviously are driving this. So speaking to Porter, she didn't seem to feel they didn't create tight boxes of where this money should be spent. They tried to get as much information as possible and to cover as many groups and organizations in town and different projects. But there's nothing that's like absolutely locked in firm in terms of this money. So I do think there is wiggle room there to be able to support that project if it comes to fruition. So I definitely might want to see that continue to sort of be researched. I spoke with Mark this morning because I was over at the high school with him. He noticed the 100-foot smokestack and said, "Can we put something on that? Because you've already got a lot of height there." So I don't know if that's an option. If he's going to investigate
there's a lot of really great kind of, some of them are wild ideas about where to install an antenna. But at the end of the day, you have to remember there's infrastructure involved with this. So, okay, we place a tower, an antenna on top of a smokestack. Well, we're going to have to pay the school some money. We need their generator. We need a physical space inside the building to house equipment. Trying to get it onto town property is the goal, but it may not be realistic.
And ultimately, the select board has the decision on where these funds go to. These are recommendations, so, part of the recommendation could be that that's what the town wants to do with some of the funds, or reserve it for that at some future point.
Yeah, and I don't think the ARPA committee is against that at all. Because I spoke to Porter directly about this and about that particular use of those funds, because they hadn't been allocated or hadn't been mentioned in the Bristol Rescue Squad proposal. For the second part, Peter, you said some of these are tweaked. Are there specific ones that you know about that you think are different? I'm just curious to hear about that.
Yeah, the Turning Point Center, that was not the amount they first came up with, and I can't remember what the purpose was, but it wasn't $50,000 or $65,000. It was, I thought it was like 20 or 30.
Since that first proposal was submitted by their then executive director, she has left and they have a new executive director. I'm guessing, I don't know for a fact, but I'm guessing that this new executive director has different priorities. I'm guessing.
It's true. Looking at the initial list that Val put together, and this was back when all those proposals were submitted, that amount is the same. It hasn't changed.
No, it was different. It was different when it first came in. I mean, that might have been a modified one afterwards, but when they first came in, it was a different number.
They were looking for support for their heating system.
Something, I don't remember what it was, but it wasn't that number.
Okay.
Yeah, it just seems like there's a whole lot more flex there than, which is okay, but it just seems like there's a lot more flex there than what we were originally led to believe.
With that one in particular?
Well, with all of them, it seems like there's not a plan. I think we need.
There wasn't any money and, like, the Bristol Family Center, I knew that they came in with something, but I don't know if they specifically said a, sprinkler system, but they were on the list.
I guess I would like to know also,
I think they did, but I.
Yeah, I don't remember.
if they go with a sprinkler system, is that gonna get you X number, how many X number of spaces? Is it
That's a
just
question
two,
we could ask. I mean,
2, 5,
I,
10?
in full
don't know.
disclosure, I'm on the board for the family center, or for the Bristol Family Center, and we've talked about this a number, it's a room on the second floor that they want to expand for to bring older kids, to open some spots, and, so it's been a dream of Amy's for a long time. She's had to shelve it for COVID, she's had to shelve it for funding, she's had to shelve it for a number of different, ideas, but that's certainly, I can reach out to Amy and ask her that question, how
They
many
aren't on
spots are
town
we
water
looking at?
either, right? So they would have to
They're
use
not
their
on
own
town.
water.
We'd
system.
heard a number, when it went down over the hill, that possibly they were going to hook them into
Well, that was
water.
when Terry's commercial building was put in there and then he passed, so
Right.
that kind of went out the door.
Yeah, there was never a firm proposal for that. We knew it
No.
had to, we knew about it and it was submitted, or I think Chris on the ARPA committee had mentioned it because he had been working with them on that. But there was never a firm plan, and they haven't sort of looked at that anytime recently, just because it was so expensive. They knew that they couldn't go forward. And so by having these funds available, they're now revisiting that. And the fact that it was like
So-
number one,
So what do we look for in a plan? I mean, I'm not gonna just give you $100,000, Ian, so you can go and make something happen. I mean, I think we need,
Detailed plan.
I think we need a
proposal.
detailed plan or a proposal, and the other side of that is.
With numbers.
Is maybe we
Yeah.
don't let it all out at once. You know, we let it out to get the project started, and then we make the final payment when the project is finished. That way we know that it's done, and we haven't just,
Throwing the money at them to do whatever they want with it.
yeah.
Right. Well, I think
Well-
that might be hard for some, I think like the family center doesn't have the budget to cover 70 grand up front. But if
No.
they could have, documentation saying this is what it's gonna cost, and then we could pay for something like that.
Well, I think, yeah, if they get some bid proposals from mechanical contractors that said to do this, it's gonna be X, Y, and then it's gonna improve us from 40 kids to 60 or 20, whatever.
Yeah.
That would be a lot of information that I'd like to see.
Yeah.
The
If
other
they say we're gonna be 70,000, we're gonna gain 2 extra kids,
I
I'm
mean,
not sure that's
ultimately-
cost worthy,
Right.
We're all responsible for this money.
right?
The other thing is that a lot of these strike me as things that might be eligible for grants, and.
Well, that's why,
You know,
yeah,
maybe the first thing
number
we
2
do
might
is,
be the first person to.
we do the grant first, which I think we're talking about here shortly. We do
Yeah.
the grant writer first, and at least see if there's any potential to get any money on any of these. If there's anything there.
Honestly, and my gut for me is, I'm doing what's right here in Bristol first, before I start spending money outside of this town. I mean, and maybe that's the wrong attitude to have, but it's like, this is money
You know,
for our
and-
residents.
You know, this board sat 18 months ago, when we first told, the government said you're gonna get $1,000,001. You know, and I proposed that I was $1.5 million, $2 million short, but a community center. Rec center, community center. And that was high, we talked about that,
Mhm.
and
But I don't know, 1 million would have done it for that.
No, it wouldn't
I mean, we were trying,
No.
I think we were trying to do the most,
but $1
the
million
most
looked awful
good for
good.
the, most good for the most people.
Yeah.
Right,
And that's really why that was ultimately
right, that
not.
could cover a
on-
lot.
And-
But I think that would have covered a lot of people,
Mhm.
from pickleball to young daycare to the whole enchilada.
Mhm.
And.
Potentially.
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying, Michelle, about,
Mhm.
I'm just also thinking of, I know that there are people who, in our community, that do have addiction issues, that do take advantage of places like Turning Point.
Oh, and
I
I'm
just-
not,
just-
I'm not
as an
saying
example.
I'm not willing to give them money, I'm
Right.
just saying, I'm probably not willing to give them what they're asking for. I wanna see what
Agreed.
all the
No, I
questions
understand.
that we had, I wanna see what those answers are.
Yeah, we need concrete numbers on a
Right.
lot of stuff.
Yeah.
before we-
Yeah, so maybe that's the next step as we ask
Yeah.
for actual proposals.
And I'm not sure what I understand number 14. I know what it means. Don't get me wrong, I'm not stupid, but funding for engineering study, explore the creating a handicap, no, 14, yeah,
14,
funding
funding.
continued exploration of necessary zoning changes to add housing, looking into increasing housing density, increase sewer capacity. What's a number you can put to that? That mean you
We don't know
increase-
yet. It's probably, you could use
Sounds
maybe
all
grant,
good.
right.
What's that?
You could maybe use grant funding to do different studies, maybe from the Regional Planning Commission, things like that. That would be a planning commission question. I put 10,000 in there just because we've received $10,000 grants before. But that's something where it's obviously, it made the top 20 from a lot of votes and suggestions that have come in. But since it's under our bailiwick, it's up to us to determine how we might look at that and how we might actually fund something like that. I don't think it's not a giant thing by any means. It's probably just study money to figure out how to be able to look at those things in the future.
Well, if last meeting is any indication how people feel about having accessory dwellings in their backyards, I can tell you.
Right.
Housing's gonna be a problem.
It's gonna be a tough road
Right.
to hoe.
Right, and that's where that money might be useful to be able to fund studies and time spent studying, looking at that to see what the potential is, both from the state side of things as well as what our local control can be.
But
And,
I think
you know,
I think the planning commission's in that process right now with the
Correct,
bylaw
they are.
modernization grant that they're
Right.
working with regional planning commission on, so that,
I
the
know,
outcome of that study should give us that.
I mean, I know they're working on the ADU stuff, some of it anyway. There's some
Yeah,
of it
that
they
should
can't
be
just
only a
change.
part of it though, not.
Right,
And,
Yeah.
you know, in number 16, we turned Valerie loose and she could probably get that by the end of the week, of bike racks.
well,
A grant for
we
that.
already have bike racks, so I don't,
And-
how many more bike racks do they want and where do they want them?
Again, not detailed. These
Yeah.
are a lot of these are very loose kind of ideas that received higher billing. The bike rack location, that could be something that CORE explores. The board has previously purchased bike racks for the town, and they sit in a couple different areas. One area that we looked at last time when we had the board had a little bit of grant money were more of the bollard style bike racks that could be on Main Street. So many of the bikes are just leaning against lampposts. And so if we had the bollards that could be removed in the wintertime, then that could be something, in terms of number 16, that could be something that Bristol Core explores.
So I found an email from April, I think whatever date it is, for the family center sprinkler proposal.
Oh, okay.
So
Is that the one you just
110,000.
put that up?
I just put that up,
Yeah.
yeah. So. Sprinkler system, 75,000, 30,000 for construction, and 5,000 for bathroom plumbing, total anticipated cost, 110,000.
And that
Yeah,
doesn't
that doesn't
even,
even include,
that doesn't get them water there.
Oh, gee.
well, they have water, but they have a well, they have to have a well
That
out
might
there,
be
because they
because of
already
the
have
tank
water.
storage peaker, I don't know.
Yeah,
question is
they
whether
do
it's
they do make a system now that will operate off a storage tank.
Storage tank.
Okay.
But that doesn't tell us
Buried
how many
in
additional
the
spaces
building.
they'll have.
Right.
Tank
I have a
storage
note to ask Amy that
In the
question.
That takes up space.
So there's that.
So you might wanna
Okay.
update your number on that one there, Ian.
I did. Yeah, we're getting close to our 1.1. But no, what I've asked people, the people that I've reached out for, which is about half of this list that isn't town related, is a detailed proposal, a budget for that proposal, and then a timeline. The
And
timeline,
I'd like to know, have they applied for any other grants to cover these costs?
Probably not.
Or anticipating applying for grants to cover these costs? You know, one was thinking that, you know, we would do some catch-up maintenance maybe in some things, not all of it, part of this opera fund. You know, we know there's a lot of places that we'd like to guardrail, but we only put $2,500 in guardrails, and you can't do 40 feet with $2,500. You know, give a shot in the arm up in the upper notch of that, another thing. That was just my thought here. Because those are things that you can't get grants for other things. if we can get grants for these things, I think they're well intended for who wants them, for they want them. But we got some stuff, we got needs too, that I don't think we can get grants for them, only taxpayer money. And I thought this was kind of a gift from the US government to say, now you can get some needed infrastructure stuff done. Well, you can look in 20 years and say, we did that with ARPA funds because it was money well spent. I want to know some of these lists, if they're going to be here in 20 years saying, well, we did it, it didn't really work out well, and so we decided to put a sidewalk down Pine Street instead of a redesign. Or the farmer's market, nobody came because they got a popular one 2 nights later in Middlebury during the day. So it lasted a couple of years and then it didn't. That's where I see this. A lot of different things. I want to make sure they're long-term goals. They're not just short-term ideas.
But I don't think we can be the judge of that, though. We tasked a committee and they came back and they have given us their answers. And I think we need to follow that as much as we can. We can ask our questions, but it was our decision to have a committee. And if part of the decision was having guardrails, then that should have been on our list, and that wasn't on our list.
We never had a chance to put our list in.
Oh, yes, we did. We had many meetings where we presented our list, and we didn't have a huge list. And that's why we had the committee do it.
We actually do have access to grants for a lot of these things. We just don't always get them.
Right.
Like I have applied for guardrails, we just didn't get it. Some other things.
And I don't mean
of what we had to do, some of what we had talked about were always big ticketed items.
Yeah, ticket items.
Yeah, we thought there was talk at the board level, never was voted on or got any further, was talk about maybe giving the sidewalks a good shot in the arm. Instead of just $40,000 a year, maybe $200,000 and get, what is our plan still? Every 50 years we replace the sidewalk, maybe get that down to the 20-year mark or 25 years or whatever. I don't know. I think Bill Bryant used to say the way we were spending money on sidewalks, every 100 years you go back and replace that sidewalk. And we all know that's not acceptable. That's where I was thinking some of this was going to go.
Well, it still can.
It still can, yes. I think the electric charging stations, I'm just pointing, I'm looking at the list here. I'm not picking on anybody else, but I think there's grants out there, they'll be coming still. Because electric, they want us to go all electric by, 2030. 2/3 they want, or half of the cars in Vermont, they want electric by that time. I think there are going to be grants out there for those.
Yeah, there is grants coming up for those. Rian and I had talked about that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, there definitely is. And I'm not looking at this list and looking at the numbers and saying, hey, let's start writing checks right now. I want as much detail as everyone else in terms of these projects. I want the money to go to where it's most going to be used. But also, I don't think we have the ability to say, well, we'd like to give it to the farmers market, but what about if it doesn't happen next year? That's just that's not what we're here to do. And you could say that about any of those projects. Why should we give the library money to have an outdoor space? Maybe no kids will go to the library anymore. That's not our job to do that. The job of the committee, they've done their job and they've presented what the public and what the committee voted on. Hundreds and hundreds of people have come up with these ideas and voted on these ideas. And so if we start saying, hey, I think we're going to do some sidewalks instead of number 13, that's not going to play well. And that's not what our job is. I feel very strongly about that, but I do want to see more detail from these, and I'm asking people for that detail.
Ian, could you email me that document that you shared earlier?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm just working through it. It's a work in progress. So I'm sort of trying to get as much information as I can, and I'm happy to present, at next meeting as well, and sort of continue with this. I don't know. So in terms of allocating any money this evening, I don't know if anyone feels comfortable to do that. There aren't a great deal on this list that can be allocated at the moment, but I don't know what people's thoughts are.
I feel like as Speaker said, I need to see a proposal of something that's written out, what the actual plan is and what their budget and timeline are.
Yeah,
right.
Like Amy, we've got that email from Amy, but that was just their estimates. I don't know that they actually got hard numbers,
Yeah.
you know.
Right.
Um,
We got, Alicia sent an email today with the farmer's market details. So we do
Yeah, I
have
saw
that.
that.
And so that breaks down. And so I like Peter's suggestion of the town having that money and allocating it. If the board does agree on that and says 31 is okay, then I think we just talk to Alicia and the rest of the board and see if is it okay to allocate this each year for the farmers market. It seems fine. Core already receives an appropriation from the town as a yearly thing. It could fit with that. And so if that was something people are interested in, you could the $1,000, which would be for this year's grant application, you could allocate that if you wanted to this evening. Obviously, I'm on the board, and so I'm biased about that. So it'd be up to the other board members to determine that. But that is one that just happened to be actually going and in progress at the moment. Like the grant program is running. So, but I don't want to make that, I don't want to favoritize that just because I'm a board member.
And I think like with that one, if you hold the money, if, you know, to Joel's concern, if in 2 years they're not there, then
Exactly.
they didn't get 3 years worth of money.
That's right.
So,
And maybe
I
somebody
mean,
else on the list needs additional funds for something because
Yeah.
prices changed or something.
yeah.
Yep.
I mean, that is anything that is over time, if
Yeah.
we hold the money, if anything goes wrong or it goes belly up, that money didn't get wasted. If it's a 3-year plan, it's gonna be a 3-year plan.
Yeah.
I mean, that's my personal feelings.
Yeah, and I think that's fine. There won't be a lot on here that are broken down like that. That one happens to be it because it's a yearly thing, managed by a local organization in Bristol. You know, other things are more like a building, a set of equipment, you know, things like that, where it is like a one-time payment at one time.
Ian, just a quick question. When you were talking about the farmer's market, you mentioned that there's a deadline, that it's in 15 days or something like that. So
Yes, so Core, Alicia applied for the Better Places grant, and that's been running for about 15 days. We have, Core has 15 more days for that grant. So far, there's been about, I think, 1,600, 1,700 raised out of the 5,000. We have more coming in. And so our thought was to just do $1,000 for that, which is the highest amount that a single entity can donate to that particular grant program. And then once you reach the 5, you get an additional 10 from the Better Places grant program. So that one is time specific. If the board isn't comfortable voting on that yet, you need more information, that's totally fine. I think Core will still make its 5,000, but obviously that extra 1,000 does help that event happening.
I guess, so if we went with that 31 or 30,000 over a 3-year period, so speaker does the math, it's 10 grand a year. I'd like to know what.
Well, we can do the $1,000
this
tonight, and then we can deal with we can get the specifics on everything else for a later date.
Well, yeah, I'd like to know how many farmers markets are gonna be, you know, so.
well, he has that information because they're all set up for this year.
Right.
Correct. And Alicia would have presented tonight. She had a prior engagement, I think,
They're
with her
set up
doing
this
something.
And maybe if they're set up for this year, we see how it goes and say, you know what? This was huge, this was popular, and then we'll give them year 2, 3, and 4 out of the 30,000. Let them be on their own the first year and say, it was really popular and people loved it and it was crowded Monday nights. The merchants on Main Street benefited after somebody went and shopped, they went downtown, had a drink or had something to eat.
I think we can give them the $1,000. I'm okay with giving them the $1,000 for this year to help with the grant. That will give them their
To
grant
support,
funds.
to support it getting going this year. Yeah.
Right, and then we reevaluate.
We could take that out of our, don't we have an advertising?
No, we take that out
Out
of
of
the
the
ARPA
ARPA?
funds, that's what
what
the
it's for.
recommendation is.
Yeah.
But I just wanna make it clear though, that doesn't mean that
They're gonna get the other
The other
30.
We're only
get
committing
a
to the
third
1,000.
without giving
right
a
now.
1,000 now. And if it falls flat on its face in fall, boy, Dale wasn't very popular, and there's a lot of factors there. Could be every Monday night, could be ratings,
Exactly.
you know, I get that part of it.
So I'll make the motion to give the farmer's market $1,000 out of the ARPA fund to go
So we're
towards the
going
grant.
Bristol Core. It's going to
Is it
Core,
Bristol
right?
Core?
It's going to Bristol Core, right, Ian?
Correct.
For the farmers, earmarked
And
for the farmers market.
Yeah. And for those who don't know, I'm on the board, so I'm trying not to be too biased for that particular organization, but I do know it'll be successful. And I think that's a great thing. I think if you can, this money can support the grant application now, that's awesome. And if it's successful, then I think, we can, the board can come back next year and ask for the additional funds for the next year. I think that's a great way to do it.
Yeah.
I just feel $1,000 to leverage $10,000 just makes sense.
It does, but I
That's
think
what we're hoping.
I'm just gonna be devil's advocate. The Corps gets a $10,000 appropriation from the taxpayers. It is taxpayer money every year. And, due to COVID, they didn't take a break in their 10,000, got it. And they didn't have Pocock Rock. We didn't have a couple of other things.
But they were still.
But they're still
doing stuff.
planning, they were still work, they were still,
Yeah.
I get that, but
That
there's
was
still
earmarked for the
savings. There had to
salary.
be some savings there when you don't have Pocock and you didn't have.
Well,
Well,
the-
that money didn't
Pocock
go to
is funded.
Pocock, that went to the
Yeah.
salary for the,
Well, they got
for
it.
the core.
yeah.
Pocock is not all profit, is it, Ian? I don't know. I never
There's
seen
a
it.
lot of donations. that
No,
go-
the Corps budget is around, in a normal year, is around $30,000. $10,000 is the appropriation, and that pays essentially for the quarter-time person. And when I did that job for 5 years, I didn't work anywhere near quarter time. It's just impossible to do.
Right.
And so that's
Which
why
means
that
you work
amount
more
was.
than that.
That's right.
I was gonna kid him with that and say, so you
No,
work less
no,
than
no,
a quarter.
Yes, similar to a select board position where you're just putting in that time throughout the year. So to answer your question, yes, even though that appropriation was still taken, I think it allowed the organization to still continue. If that
Right.
money disappears, literally no one runs the organization. And the organization isn't just a nonprofit group for the Bristol businesses. It's a state program that Bristol is a part of. And so if the organization goes away, we are unable to get certain grant funding and tax credits for the town. So the organization really needs to stay afloat, and it's hard to do that, especially with the amount of budget that the organization has.
But Pocock is not a moneymaker for Bristol Core. You have to pay.
Correct. It tries to be. Essentially, Pocock is based on, it's all fundraise. So you have vendors who come in and pay for a stall. You have sponsorship money, and usually Pocock makes maybe a few thousand for the organization each year, but it's not a tremendous amount. We'd like it to be more. And if we can leverage money like this grant and ARPA money, hopefully we can actually make a little bit of money and have a budget to be able to do other things. But at the moment, we make a little bit each year, but it's not a great amount.
Okay.
So is there a second for that motion?
No, second.
Michelle, second. Any other discussion? All right, all those in favor?
All right.
Anyone opposed?
Didn't I?
And Ian, are you voting?
He did, he
Zero.
raised
Oh,
his
okay, I
hand.
wasn't
Yeah,
looking.
am I allowed to vote? I'm happy with whatever the board
As long
decides.
as you don't feel like it's a conflict.
Yeah, you disclosed it and nobody so far has expressed objection.
Yeah, your
Okay.
vote doesn't count.
Right. Well, I'm happy to do that too. Well, thank you very much. And I didn't mean to make it about a sob story about Bristol Core and things like that. I mean, it just happened by chance. It happened to be one of those things that could be funded on our list that was presented to us. But I'll continue to
Plus,
work
one
on
thing
this.
that has a timeline, like an urgent timeline.
That's right.
as well.
Yeah, and it just happened to have a timeline. So, we're going to be talking about the grant writing position first. Peeker at the top of this discussion mentioned having that person hopefully be hired and come in and work on that. And I think that's a great idea. I think that's a direction we should take as well. And so maybe it's time to sort of move on and have that discussion for that position. And so we can put it out there and hopefully hire somebody who might be interested in doing that. And I'll keep working on these and getting updated. And when I get this into a place where I like it, I'll share it with everyone, and you can see the proposals that have come in, and then maybe we can build up our questions that we have for certain organizations. But I will say that, the organizations that we're going to be talking to for some of these chunks of money, there aren't very many. 12 of the 20 are all town-based. So that's all us sort of producing those projects and funding those projects. So there's only a small amount that actually go to other organizations.
Yeah, I appreciate the work, Ethan. Sorry, Ian. It's just when you say I put the number in, I want numbers from these organizations.
Yes. Yes, and I only did that with a couple of things, and that was like the bus shelters because I happen to be working on that project.
Yeah.
Everything else pretty much is our numbers that we've received, and obviously Val gave us an updated number for the family center, and some I'm still waiting for, like the Masons. That was a rough number that someone else had put in that I got information from. So I didn't put that in, but I've asked Cecil to sort of update that. He's hoping to get us, but everything will start to lock in with real numbers over the next few weeks.
Perfect.
So
Okay.
before we leave this agenda item, folks might have noticed there was a draft resolution that was included to try to keep track of these decisions. And the draft structure anticipated several projects being listed that would be kind of captured. So going forward, I'll update this draft to include a whereas, acknowledging that on May 8th, 2023, the select board voted to authorize $1,000 to the Bristol Core. So it'll be reflected in that way in a future draft.
So we'll have to do one for every time we allocate money.
Or just keep track of it that way, and then at some point, a resolution would, or one or more, it could be, maybe we have 3 or 4 of these things over time, but they would be ultimately reflected in resolutions that kind of capture.
So we know, we have a
nice
document
package,
of where our money was
a
spent.
neat package of where the money was and when
It's
the
supposed to
decision
be
was
going,
going.
As opposed
we
to
also-
guessing and going back through the minutes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And we also need some follow-up too, just to see what happens with these projects. We'll have that document which says where the money was allocated to, but then some sort of follow-up, and we still haven't figured out what that might be, to actually see the progress on these projects and hopefully final projects being done.
It's almost like a grant requirement list.
Yeah.
Okay, are we ready to move on?
Okay, thank you. That was very long.
Thank you, that was good, Bill. Thank you, Ian.
Okay.
That was much longer than the estimated time.
No, I know it was. I'm sorry about that.
Let's see, here we go. Review and potential approval of grant writer and administrator position, job description.
Okay, so Val, jump to the part at the end of this, the end of your section before we start talking about the description you have.
Oh, right,
Yeah.
right. Well, there are a number of different options about this. One is to go this grant writer route, which, as I was framing it, I was thinking it would be a person who is supporting all the departments in all of the grant activity and working very closely with the treasurer's office to kind of be a one-stop shop for the town and all the departments and kind of consolidate all the grant activity. And that person will become expert, working closely with the department heads and other staff on process and all that stuff. There aren't people out there that are ready to just walk in and do that kind of thing. It's an acquired skill, as I mentioned. Another option is to go a community development specialist route, where the person, and there are more people, I think, that have the qualifications to fill that role, but that tends to be a position that is more broadly structured for housing and economic development and other kinds of infrastructure projects, implementation, as I mentioned, community engagement, planning kind of activities. And so it would be a broader departmental kind of role rather than supporting individual departments. So it'd be a different focus. In other words, I'm just, not to pick on the police departments, but I don't know that a community development specialist would have much bandwidth to work on police department grants, for example. Maybe they would, I don't know. That's not been my
We
experience.
could use somebody that could write grants or knows how to write grants.
Right.
That's right.
There are times that we fill it in as best as we can,
Right,
and we're not getting these grants.
right, no, I
And we don't
totally
have the
appreciate
time.
that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure a community development specialist person would be that person.
But if you're doing that type of person, then how can they also, if they don't have that expertise on grant writing, then why would we hire them? Why would you want that?
Well, I mean,
type of person?
I'm talking about focus, that a community development specialist person would have a broader, typically, would have a broader charge than supporting, say, recreation department applications for trails or whatever.
I guess I
don't know if I'm being clear.
Well, I guess I was thinking more of a person, I'll go back to what Bruce was saying about, like when Brett 3 years ago applied for those $125,000 worth of air packs, and then he got a fellow at work. And then the second time he wrote it again, we got it because they got the right, I'm thinking the verbiage, the right lingo. For those federal people look at and going, boy, this is an impressive grant.
Right.
True.
Yeah.
That's what I'm looking.
And grant
And look at a
writers would
police
do
thing for
that.
radios or something.
Most
They
grant
need
writers
that, they
are
can put that
sucked up
lingo.
by the educational.
They knew that language
Higher
to put in that
educational
grant.
people.
And that's where I'm,
So maybe
leaning
I appreciate Porter's preference for the community development approach. And maybe we should go for the grant writer first and see what we get.
Would you think you could find somebody who's got the community development and grant writing experience, or you're gonna find one or the other?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, could
I don't
the
think
job
you're
be
gonna
split
find one
into
that has
two?
both.
Yeah, could the job be split into two pieces, and would that be one person, or is it?
Yeah, but if you're giving them full-time, that's just 30 hours, it's benefits for two people, so.
Right.
Right.
Well, also,
we don't have
if we're
that.
really
We don't get
asking a grant writer person to also participate in administering them and being responsible for administering them, and given the volume of grants we currently have and the fact that we are hoping to get more through this increased capacity, that could take up the full bandwidth
See,
of that
that's,
person.
I guess what I was
Yeah.
thinking of is a grant writer full-time,
Yeah.
applying for the grant, managing the grants, keeping a spreadsheet, keeping track, doing all the paperwork that has to go through with them,
Mhm.
in order for you to be in compliance with those grants.
And to
I would
free up
think
some
that'd
time
be-
from department heads.
Well, and it would take time away from Anthony from doing it,
Right.
Yeah.
and hopefully he could focus on other stuff.
Right.
I mean, to me, and I have no idea, is that a full-time position? I would guess so, I mean, given
I would,
given the
right.
amount of time that you sometimes spend on grants, that,
And
and
I
if it was off your
some
plate.
up because I just don't have the bandwidth to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
I think the need right now is for a grant writer. I think the idea of a community
Development.
developer,
Mhm.
development is wonderful, and that's something we can keep on our radar, and maybe when it comes to budgeting time, we start to think about that. Or is that someone
And
that
maybe
would,
that person evolves into a community development specialist.
yeah,
I like the idea of having somebody on board that invests the time to get to know what each department needs, gets to know how to build those strong applications to meet the department's
Yeah.
needs.
Mhm.
It'll probably take time to get to those points, and I'm not optimistic that there are loads of candidates out there to
For
do
grant
it, so.
I just happen to know that when somebody who used to work at our office went to the state of Vermont to become a grant writer.
Oh, well, they don't
It's like-
publish their job descriptions.
No, no,
I didn't find a single one.
yeah.
So
So they're
I-
probably out there, they probably don't advertise. Yeah.
I beat the bushes.
Yeah.
And the way it is a lot of staff, a lot of people on the staff in different organizations, they just evolved into doing it.
Doing it.
But there's no written job description.
Right.
They just do it.
Mhm.
And it's part of some other job that it's kind of a footnote, grant writing, and they just do it.
interesting.
So I
I
did,
wonder, hey, Brett, I wonder if you can know the friend that helped you with your application, if they would know somebody. I mean, because
Well-
usually if they're in that, they know other people.
They know the
They know the
clientele
field,
that can do
yeah.
this.
Yeah.
possibly.
And I'm wondering if we're in the right ballpark, money-wise,
I don't really
because it
know.
was $20 an hour.
Yeah, well, we need to
I don't
keep
think
in
you're
mind
close.
the context of all the other positions in,
Understood.
yeah.
Well, we budgeted 65,000. That was what we had we were
Right.
playing around with in budget season. It's not budgeted for. We were looking at ARPA money since we knew this was
Right.
in there. So that's what we put in for that amount. Looking at your document, Val, I think it looks good. I think it is a full-time position, especially if we want someone managing that. So I think definitely full-time. And I think the 20 an hour is too low. But obviously,
Yeah.
I could do the math and work out what 65,000 is for a full-time position.
Well,
But
full-time would be 30 hours or 40,
30
depending on
plus,
30 plus.
But we also have the benefits to factor
Right.
into that 65 or
Yeah.
whatever.
Add to it.
Yeah. Whatever
Yeah, cause you
number
can,
we come
yeah,
up with.
you can get $18 an hour flipping burgers at McDonald's now, so,
Mhm.
you
I
know.
know.
You do? I didn't
Yeah.
know you were getting out of the pit and going to McDonald's.
I mean, well, that's what we're, you know, how do
Yeah.
you take somebody with a specialized skill and tell them they're worth $2 an hour more than,
They'd laugh at you.
you know?
They should
I
laugh
just-
at
You're
us.
probably gonna be somewhere in the range of 25 to 30,
Yeah.
is my
That's what I
guess.
was thinking.
Okay.
So we should establish a range and then have it be based on qualifications and experience.
Yes.
I
And
do
not-
think
and-
the description was thorough, though, that you wrote.
and I don't want to
I do
say,
have a couple of questions on that description, like,
Sure.
one of them, he says, work with the departments to develop realistic budget proposals, including in-kind time, and I think it's supposed to be required matching resources, it says requited,
Required.
I was like, yeah, maybe I don't know what that word means.
Spell check did not catch it.
Well, because it's a word, I believe.
Yeah.
And it says work closely with the auditors and the course of annual audits, but I think we all should put in there responsible for, managing the grants, keeping a spreadsheet, disbursements, et cetera, whatever
Mhm.
that entails. Those are the only other things that I thought you might want to add on there.
Did it say that up above? I'm trying to remember.
Well, it says work closely with the treasurer's office to monitor revenues, expenses, and
Okay,
financial
but it wasn't
obligations.
spelled out.
If we did, speaking of the treasurer's office, if this does stay as a grant writer and administrator,
Mhm.
what do you think about having that person also be designated as an assistant treasurer? Almost automatically.
I would not get ahead of ourselves with that.
yeah.
Because
Because
I think
then
those,
they're gonna want more money.
well, and also too, I think the complexity of maybe those two positions together might be too much. When we talked about this before, the idea was the grant writer, but not managing. We felt that maybe we couldn't find someone who could do the writing and do the managing of them. And now if we want to add something else, that sounds a little bit scary to me.
It feels like two different skills
Yeah.
almost.
Yeah.
But not to say that person couldn't
Couldn't evolve.
Evolve into,
evolve
okay.
into
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I wouldn't put it in the job description. I do think, Val, I think you're right. Even though I support Porter's idea, I think that's further down the line for Bristol at the moment. And I think given, like you said, given our needs right now, I think a straight grant writing position would be really beneficial, especially the management side.
Let's keep it simple.
Yes.
And see what we get. And
Right.
Yeah.
So a range of 20 to 25, you said?
25.
25 to 30.
I think.
25 to 30.
I mean, I'll put this out there too. My office uses a grant writer, but she's she's a contractor, an independent contractor.
Mhm.
Yeah, there are consultants that'll do that for
Yeah.
$80 an hour. Right.
Yeah. She's
Right.
not cheap.
Yeah, and then it's for very focused.
On a
Thing.
particular,
Yeah.
well, she's
Yeah,
sort
they
of on-
only do the writing, they don't do the managing.
Correct, yeah, we sort of have her on retainer, because we write a lot of grants within our office, but.
Do you, Carla, just to ask the question, does your office look at her, look at that preprint and say, she's very,
She makes her money.
she
Oh,
makes
she
her money,
and
or,
then some.
she's 80%, grants she applies for, we get at least 80% of them, or 60%?
Yeah, there's a review every year. She came
Okay.
with such a wonderful reputation. She did, I will say, having said that, there was a grant that I was involved with her that we applied for that we did not get. So she doesn't get everything,
Mhm.
but the majority that she gets, and they're big ticket items.
And I want
It's
to make sure that people's expectations are realistic. That for one thing, the grant writer might not always be successful. And more often than not now, grants, the administrative side of a project is typically in kind. We very rarely get grant money to cover the administrative cost of doing the project or administering the grant itself.
But if,
So
But
it's
if
not
they,
like
if they buy,
bring in more than they cost,
to get stuff done, but it
Yeah,
might,
yes.
it won't, in other words, it won't cover their
time to
the salary
record
cost.
everything. Yeah.
Well, the
Right.
other thing
Yes,
I want to
consider it more of an investment by the town into these broader efforts.
Yeah,
Because we
we-
also manage grants for others, because, like we have Addison County Community Action Group where they've applied for grants and we've had to manage those grants.
For the fiscal,
And,
yeah.
well, and I know when they did the firehouse apartments, we had talked about saying, well, you should be putting in money in there for the town of Bristol for administering
Which
those
is unusual.
grants, and I think they did.
They did $5,000.
Yeah, so I mean, but if we're doing with people outside of us, then that should be an automatic.
Yeah, so I just wanted to make sure that the expectations were.
Yeah.
My
aware.
expectation is that we pay somebody and they make their salary up in what they
What they
get
can get.
us.
Yes.
Not,
That, or what we
we,
hope they can
Okay.
do.
we still have to,
Well,
we're
here-
still, the bottom line is, we still have to pay them.
Yeah.
But in turn, we should reap the benefits of having them on the payroll.
Yeah.
Well, just hearing
Right.
that Valerie and Bruce both don't even apply for some things because they don't have time,
Or they apply for them and don't
And-
get them because they don't have
the verbiage.
the experience verbiage, whatever.
Yeah, if they get $100,000 grant for something and, while it cost us 10 grand to administrate it, that shouldn't come out, we're paying that out of the ARPA funds for the first couple of years or whatever. Out of the
Right.
65, I would think, right?
Say it again, Joel.
If we've got a $100,000 grant, we don't say, part of that 100,000 is for what they applied for, not, 10,000 is gonna be to administrate the grant
Oh, well, if,
of the 100. Is that what
if
you're
we-
saying?
if it's a
It
salaried
doesn't-
person, then no.
Right.
No.
I mean, some
We're paying
grant
that, what
writers,
we're gonna
some grant
approve
writers
tonight if
do
possible.
work on a percentage basis
Yeah.
of the grants that they write, so that's another way around it. But I think at one time, Bristol had no, you can't do that kind of thing. And I only know that because when I first came to work, Jerry was working on grants and that came up. So there was some select board at some point in time, you might remember, that there was, if you wrote a grant, you could not,
Right.
you could not,
You couldn't personally
you
get
couldn't
it.
personally get money from it. So, anyway.
And, the ARPA committee, obviously, this is number 2 out of their top 20. So the ARPA committee knew going into this and looking at that, obviously it was very highly rated by both them and the community, but this was one of the few, or if the only one on here, which they knew that it was ongoing, that might become part of the town budget. And it's exactly what Peaker said in terms of that position would hopefully bring in so much more than the position itself to support the town and its needs for grants, that position, it makes sense to have that kind of person on our staff.
Yeah, if a 65 or a $70,000 position is getting us $200,000, $300,000 grants a year to get some real major infrastructure and other stuff done in the town
Exactly.
to benefit the town, that's a no-win situation. That's a
Yeah.
swap.
I think if you added up the grants that we apply for, it's well over 200,000.
Well,
Yeah.
you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And you can,
Looking at the most current personnel compensation ranges, I would recommend that we set the rate at $22 to $30 an hour. Not too much higher above what some current employees, longtime employees are at.
So 22.
22
to
yeah, I would kind of broaden the range so that we don't go too, out of respect for folks that are at the rates that some folks are currently at, who have been here for a while.
Having said that, though, it is a very specialized position
Yeah.
with a
Yeah.
with a unique set of skills, and so we run the risk, if we lower it, we run the risk of maybe not receiving the applicants that we would like to get, and yeah, so that would be mine. I'd hesitate to do that. I think we just need to go a little bit higher to be able to get a good group of people hopefully applying. And I guess I wouldn't worry personally about the amount in terms of other employees, because it is a very specialized thing.
So we were saying $25 to $30 an hour, and now I don't know
Jumps it
about,
back
I
to-
mean, 22 to 30 doesn't seem like a stretch to me. Because if they're gonna be qualified to do it and they're on that higher end, then they know that they're gonna get that higher salary.
Or they're not.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you're right, Darla. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I don't think I have a problem with doing that, 22 to 30.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, $3 difference is what we're talking about.
And whoever applies based on their experience is what we're gonna
Pay
Yeah,
for-
we
pay
got-
them
Yes,
anyway.
that's true. Okay,
We're
yeah,
not
you're
saying we're
right.
gonna start them at 22.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, do we need a motion? Or is that just
I'll
a,
make a motion that you wanna do the job description, you wanna
Approve
send
the-
that, approve
approve the
the grant
grant
writer
writer
position from the ARPA funds.
Grant writing position.
Yeah. And get the job description out to press or whatever.
Second,
So I hear two things, approving creation of this position this year using the ARPA funding, so there's another thing for the resolution. And approving, or authorizing the job description.
Yeah.
As
To
described.
advertise for the job
Yeah.
description.
and I'll second
Advertise
both
the
of
job
those.
description as printed or proposed, I guess.
Advertise for
And we're not
the grant writing position.
advertised for the grant writing
Writing
position based on the job
Funds coming-
description.
Based on the job funds to become first year out of the ARPA funds.
Yeah, and are we 100% set on that 65,000, or are we gonna let that until we have a range?
Yeah,
Until we interview and have a range?
Yeah, I think we.
yeah, because we've got time to be able to make that
Adjustments.
choice. Yeah.
So amount to be finalized, amount to be determined. Okay,
okay, so we've got a motion.
$30.
So I seconded it.
Second?
Yeah, I seconded it.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion?
Seconded, he seconded.
Okay,
Yeah.
all those in favor?
Alright,
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
alrighty,
There we go.
That's at $30 an hour.
yay.
Thank you for writing that.
Next.
That's $30.
Next.
That's no benefits.
Right.
Great, well, thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Approval, consider approval of a proposed amendment to the Bristol Police Station rental agreement with Bristol Works and an extension to the 2026 lease. I'm guessing that's what that says?
Yeah, hopefully it's fairly straightforward. The current lease is it's currently 13 years or 10 years.
10 years.
And this amendment proposes to extend it for an additional 3, for a total of 13. And every year there's an annual adjustment based upon a number of factors. And the figure that's proposed in this proposed lease amendment is consistent with the current calculation.
I'll make a motion that we approve.
Bruce will be out on his butt.
To be working on this truck.
We'll be looking for a new place.
He'll be moving in with somebody.
Garage, I can clean the upstairs out for the summer months, I have that in the winter months, so you got to work around the.
Did you make a motion, Ian?
I did.
Okay, I'll second it.
All right, any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, there we go.
We did those two in 20 minutes, we started at
Okay.
20 off, I looked.
Discuss potential tax sale of 547 Rockydale Road property formerly owned by Raleigh Benedict, now deceased.
Yes.
102.
Sharon, you wanna take the reins on this one first and then I can jump in?
Okay, Raleigh is been gone since 2017. As far as we can tell, there's no estate that's been open. He owes almost 10 grand, I think it is, for back taxes. I've put together a list of people. There is one sibling left. He's right around 100 or pretty close to it. He lives in Arizona. There are some relatives here in town. I did talk to the wife of Randy Benedict, who is one of the sons of the sibling, the brother that's still alive, and they don't want to have anything to do with it. There are a bunch of grandchildren, and from what I understand, if there's a sibling left, then they are first, and then maybe it goes down to grandchildren because there are no children left alive, just grandchildren and a couple great-grandchildren, but they're really young. So,
No, so it's
not sure where
actually,
you want to
Sharon,
go
it's-
with this.
Yeah, it's actually, we looked at the statute today, it's actually the children. The parent, the spouse, the children, and if there's no children, it's the grandchildren. So what will have to happen in this case if we do a tax sale is we have to get notice to those children, the grandchildren. So my
Well, we
understanding
think
is.
Julie Benedict is one of the grandchildren. That's who was on the death certificate. There might be a
Right.
couple others, but I didn't find any of the children of the deceased sons. One of the sons died when he was 31, one died at 52, and the daughter died when she was 12. So would have to do, I found a bunch on the other people, but not on grandchildren for Raleigh.
Sharon, it says he had 3 children. Dixie.
Who
Roland
died when she was 12.
David. Dixie,
Right, they're all
Roland,
deceased.
David. That's it. It says there are 3 children: Dixie, Roland, David, and sister Ethel. So that's 4 children, not 3.
No,
His
Ethel is
sister.
died. That's a sibling. Ethel is a sister.
Okay, all right. So that
Yeah.
confused me. So, okay, so Dixie, Roland, and David.
Yes,
so
and they're all
she died
deceased.
at 12.
Yeah.
Roland died at 31 and David died at 52. So when
Yes,
I was
and
looking
Roland
at-
was married to a Susan Phillips who still lives in town.
Okay.
So she might be a
they-
good place to start to find out who
Right, because
other
we
than
had-
Julie, who the other grandchildren are.
Okay, right, so we have to start somewhere, and the question becomes is ultimately, do we wanna do a tax sale? That's the easiest way for the town. You don't wanna open an estate, because that's just
Right.
a nightmare. So if we do the tax sale, you haven't done one since you've been here, have you, Sharon? We haven't done a tax sale.
No,
since
we
you've been-
haven't, but Brett just texted me. He works with a Julie Benedict, so maybe it's the same one. I'll ask him if
Please reach out.
yeah.
Well, Julie Benedict was from Randolph or Rochester or something like that, wasn't she?
Yeah,
the time?
so
Yeah.
But Sharon, just clear me up here a little bit. If they've been 5 years now, they haven't paid their taxes,
Right.
and we would have had a tax sale whether they were dead or alive, I think we need to answer the question, do we have a tax sale, yay or nay?
Yeah, you don't have a choice.
Right,
If
I
there's
think-
nobody's paying
Right.
taxes on it,
Right.
and none of the kids want anything to do with it.
And do they have a water bill? Because they're on town
no,
water.
water's been shut off.
Okay,
It's been shut off for a while. I think probably almost immediately after he passed away.
because you still have a year to redeem the family
Right.
bills. We do a tax sale, I'll make a motion, we do a tax sale for non-payment over 5 years of non-payment of taxes. And then let the family, if they want to, grandchildren or whatever, come forward.
Well.
We have to notify them with notification
Right,
from the
the
town.
process will have to be, and we may have to have Kevin Brennan do this or whoever did our last tax sale, because there's a specific process that you have to go through to get that tax sale done.
Right.
And there's gonna have to be notice done. If we can't find the grandchildren, you need to do a publication somewhere, so, it's all timing. And then the tax sale, eventually you gotta do all the paperwork, we have to do a record owner search and notify any like mortgages, tax liens, all that stuff has to be
But,
given notice.
but a tax sale still doesn't take effect for 365
Right.
days. So we
Once
have
it-
that
once it
time
finishes.
after the tax sale to do a public records. Do a public,
No, you gotta do that before.
oh, you have to do all that before?
Everything has to be before,
The
because
tax.
all that notice has to be given. They have to have notice of the tax sale.
Okay,
In the tax sales that I had experience with from years ago, the select board needed to authorize a staff member, it was typically me, to place a bid, or to be prepared to place a bid on the property in case there were no other bidders.
Right.
That way, even though the town will end up with the property, which it doesn't wanna do, it wouldn't have to repeat the whole process all
Right.
over again.
Right.
And the town would own the property and could dispose of it as however it might need to do that, sell it, whatever. But, so that's another step, is the town would be prepared to put a bid on it if it had to.
Yeah, and I know right now Kevin Brennan is out of the country on vacation for 2 or 3 weeks, so we either wait till he comes back or use
I mean,
somebody
we can
else.
start the process if we can like get in touch with Julie or get in touch with Susan and, see if we could find out the names and contact of all the grandchildren. At least we'd have that information to provide to Kevin, because his
Right.
bill and anything we expend is part of
The tax sale.
the tax sale
Right.
funds.
Right.
So, you know, whatever we can do to help him out with that, you know, would be helpful.
Okay, I think Brett's gonna
Want a
ask
motion?
her and see what information he can get.
So Joel had made a motion.
I'll make a motion that we start the process to speak with a town attorney on getting the property up for a tax sale, getting all the paperwork correctly done and notified if you can't.
Start the process of a tax sale.
Yeah, thank you, Peter. There you go.
Second.
And do we need to add the section that Valerie was talking about, or does that happen down the road?
Typically down the road.
That can happen once we get the documents and everything ready.
And we have a second? Okay, any other discussion? Great, all those in favor?
All right.
All right, anyone opposed? Thank you very much. Moving on. Consider grant application authorization request to apply for a $4,000 capacity grant through the Municipal Energy Resilience Program.
So moved.
Second.
Right,
And what is this?
It's up to $4,000 to, in this case, to hire somebody to prepare a grant application for some future or unknown or unidentified yet, as of yet, project to energy resilient, improve the town's energy resilience in municipal buildings. Holly Hall, the library, and we are in line to receive free assessments. It'll take some time for those to get arranged, but those will likely identify some specific projects with cost estimates that we can then apply for to implement through this program. And this $4,000 would pay somebody to write those grant applications for the implementation.
And what is energy resilience?
Heat pumps, weatherization, insulation, the things,
Okay.
energy efficiency, as other words.
Well, I mean,
Yeah. And not necessarily energy efficiency, and perhaps a project might be to swap out a petroleum source of heat with a different source of heat, but that's not necessarily energy efficiency, it's just different. So,
so it's resilient.
more resilient, correct.
All right, any other questions? All those in favor?
I,
Aye.
Thank you. Great. Anyone opposed? Nope. All right, review and approval of the April 10 and April 24, 2023 meeting minutes.
I make a motion to approve the 10, and I sent my comments on April 24th, which were many.
second,
All those in favor?
are we voting on just
Aye.
April 10 then?
No, I'm fine with doing April 24th. I only had,
Okay.
I think, one change.
So all
So
the-
you're making the motion for both
Yeah,
of them?
both of them.
Okay, and I'm second both.
Okay, you're seconding both of them. All right.
Super,
I just wanna be
All
clear.
those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
thank you.
Nice. Authorize accounts payable warrant, any liquor or tobacco licenses.
Accounts payable is 58,537.74. And I do have a special events permit for an event on June 5th for Bristol Market. I think that's the first day of the farmer's market.
Correct.
It's from Wild Heart Distillery.
And I see they're gonna have a closed-in,
And by 10
In
space or
section.
something like that.
Yeah, 6x8 foot display table in a 10x10 foot contained area.
And you need a motion for that? I forget every week.
yes.
Yes.
Yes, please.
Motion for
So
the,
moved.
with the condition of the closed-in area, which they said they're doing, but
Yes.
make sure the condition is in there.
I'll second that.
Yes.
Just a second, okay.
So who moved it?
Ian,
Then he just seconded it.
Yeah, you can't.
no, he moved it, I seconded with the addition of,
Okay.
just make sure you put that
Okay.
condition
Okay.
in there.
Okay.
Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. We are at Select Board Roundtable. Let me start with Joel.
I don't have anything except I keep in touch with Floyd about the light up to my Luke's or Spring Street.
Yeah.
We're supposed to meet this week sometime, as soon as Valerie can, I'll send an email, I'll send an email to you tomorrow. Eric.
All right, Peaker?
So many concerns, so little time. I'm good.
You're good. Michelle?
I'm basically good, but I do want to thank everybody for Green Up Day.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's actually, I always say I lose a little faith in our humankind every time I pick up Green Up Day, but
Maybe Eric, I'll ask something, Eric, did you pick up quite a truckload today?
Double.
go ahead and say it, because I don't think we heard this before we got on, because it was.
I didn't get your part.
Oh, so for Green Up, we had 45 tires we picked up. Some metal that we put down in our metal pile for future. And then we did 0.99 tons, so almost 2,000 pounds worth of garbage that we picked up.
Really depressing,
Which
and that
is
doesn't include
double
the
last
stuff on
year.
116.
Double last year.
Yeah, 'cause
And that doesn't
normally,
include
No, it
stuff
doesn't
on
cover
116.
state roads.
Right.
normally we only put, usually it's like 1,000, 1,100 pounds of garbage normally we take down a year.
Mm.
So it's almost double.
That's fantastic.
Okay.
It's great.
Well, it's, like
Fantastic,
Michelle
but
said,
not
it just goes out to the,
fantastic.
It's
all the
fantastic
Green
that
Up
people picked it up.
volunteers
It's
for
not
doing a great
fantastic that
job.
they throw it out.
That it got there in the first
Yeah.
place.
Great, great. Ian, do you have anything?
Yeah, I'd like to thank Eric and the Public Works for delivering our picnic tables to the town green. We assembled them last Friday with the help of the Bristol Core Board, and now we have 4 picnic tables on the green, and they were immediately used for the entire weekend. So that was very successful. But thank you for storing those, Eric, and delivering those so we could finally build them.
Yeah, no problem.
Did I see some elementary school kids involved in that project too?
We got the elementary kids were actually doing Green Up Day. And so they walked through, and then we had them stand and sit on the table for a little community photo op.
I knew I saw that photo. I wasn't sure the involvement.
Yeah, they just happened to be there picking up, which is great. So yeah, we got that done. In terms of anything else select board related, besides I did my update for my bus shelters, that continues. And I'll talk to Chris about the design review commission for those 2 structures, and I'm still working on the permitting for that. And I think that's all I'm working on. Let me just double check. I think that's probably it. Okay, thank you very much.
Great. The only thing I had this evening was I was happy to see that the mats got returned to the park for the
they did?
swings.
Oh,
Yeah.
good.
So I don't know the
Good.
story behind it, but the mats are back. So
That's
Awesome.
great.
yeah,
Maybe they had to be cleaned.
not according to Meredith.
They were barely out of their delivery box.
Yeah.
I didn't need them.
Yeah. All right, town administrators report.
I do not have anything to add to my written report.
Thank you. Other business, with the banner.
So moved.
Second,
All those in favor?
Aye.
What was on
Should
the
we
other
talk
thing? What'd she
about
say?
Peter?
Oh, sorry.
What did we just move?
The
the
banner.
banner.
The banner.
Oh, the banner.
Sorry, there was a banner to
Right.
request from the school, Joel.
Oh,
He
okay,
didn't
you
live.
added it. at the
We added
beginning
it,
of the
I'm
meeting.
sorry.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Under other business.
Well, I was reading it here and it said we're gonna move it to the May 22nd agenda, so I said,
Well, we just decided to add it tonight,
Sure,
so we
I'm
didn't
fine
have
with
to
it.
wait.
Val, should we mention Peter's burn?
You're certainly welcome to do that, yeah.
Okay, for all those out there, now hopefully we can get this on Front Porch Forum as well. As people know, Peter D. Ryan retired. So we are having a little get together Thursday, the 11th from 4:30 to 7 at the Legion. So please come out and wish him well and spend some time with him.
And if I could add to that, when I put my little blurb in my report, I did not have available to me certain information. I wish I did. So I'll just summarize this information from the 2015 town report, which was dedicated to Peter Ryan. And it said that he served the town of Bristol Fire Department for 28 years. He was a founding member of the Bristol Rescue Squad. He was appointed to village trustee and served for approximately 20 years. He also held the office of village auditor and board of civil authority, town treasurer, assistant town clerk, and assistant town treasurer.
Holy cow.
And, swears like a sailor.
And is quick-witted.
Something like that.
You know, and Peter was a longtime state education employee, for the Department of Education, a longtime employee with them.
Yeah.
And this was all after, basically, not fire department, but coming down and working for the town was after he was a state employee.
Yep. Well, we enjoyed working with him.
And very good
and
state
miss him.
employee, too. For the education department. He always used to kid with me, he says, "Oh, Joel, hang on to your wallet. It's after January, the Golden Dome is open up." He always used to say, the legislators are back.
Yeah, very good wit.
Yep.
Anything else we need to know about, Valerie?
Executive session.
Yes, I do know that.
And just on that, I talked with Ross today, I told him 50 people.
Okay.
He's gonna have a little dip in hot dogs and all kinds of stuff, and meatballs,
Oh,
and
super.
cheese and crackers and all
Sounds
that
good.
stuff.
Okay, great. Gonna make your motion?
Yeah, I make a motion, we enter into executive session to discuss personnel and contracts.
Potential real estate negotiations.
Okay, real estate for 1 VSA section 313. Somebody second.
And then we'd invite, if you wish us to stay, Eric.
Eric.
Yes, you can come in.
Good night, Jim. Good night, Bruce.
Good night, guys.
Thank you.
All those in favor, going into executive
Aye.
session?
Aye.
Okay.